Factorio's early game. After building a 1 million signs per minute base, we are finally back. Relaxed mining of stones and wood cutting. I missed it so much. Welcome to my new series, Somewhere in Time. Instead of achieving a specific number of signs per minute, we will build a Deathworld megabase using the following seed. Most importantly, I'm playing and testing my own mod, AVADII Rebalance. This mod makes the game significantly harder compared to vanilla. I want to create a gameplay experience that is similar to version 1.0 before Space Age. And I want to use a lot of trains. In a Deathworld, it makes sense to research electric mining drills immediately. We have to deal with a very dangerous biter nest right next to the copper patch. The first attack consists of just one biter. At the beginning of a Deathworld, I'm careful to not emit unnecessary pollution, to avoid provoking large waves of attacks right from the start. After electric mining drills, we will now research gun turrets and then automation. Before building a starter base, the biter nest on the left side definitely needs to be removed as early as possible. My mod AVADII Rebalance is certainly the biggest challenge of this run. If you want to know exactly what has been nerfed, check the video description or the mod portal. It contains drastic nerfs for many of the new space age technologies, especially regarding productivity bonuses. My goal, a megabase should be huge and look like a megabase again. And using trains should be worthwhile. Therefore, this series is also a bit of playtesting for my mod. Okay, to fight the first biter nest, I'll use a shotgun this time. It's not exactly my favorite weapon in Factorio, but let's give it a try. And the most important research, physical projectile damage level 1. Gun turrets benefit twice, because the damage stacks. After the first wave has been eliminated, we will now attack with gun turrets. The shotgun is very good for taking out biter spawners. Also, I'll take care of the worm in the back. The shotgun has a very good ratio between invested resources and damage, especially in the early game. Okay, now that the biter nest is gone, we can start building a small starter base. Let's start with a bit more power production. In a Deathworld, you never know from which direction the next attack will come from, which is why we just install a few gun turrets. The Rebalance mod does not change Factorio's combat system, and the very early game is largely not affected by the nerfs. But as soon as we encounter something that has been nerfed, I will definitely address it. The first significant change we will encounter later are efficiency modules, especially the level 1 version. But until then, we first need to automate the red signs production. To be precise, I'm only half automating it. In the very early game, it's viable to just work with chests and manually carry a few resources around. Next, the green science pack. I only built 4 assemblers each, because we have to be very careful about pollution in a Deathworld. On the minimap, you can see a couple of large biter nests in close proximity. Keeping the pollution cloud under control should be the #1 priority. Because if the air pollution doesn't reach the nests, there won't be any waves of attacks. We have to start smelting steel to produce steel furnaces. Steel furnaces are twice as fast as stone furnaces, but they don't consume more coal, making them significantly more efficient. That's why they are my first choice after unlocking the green science pack. You need relatively few resources to research with red and green science packs. Therefore, in my opinion, it's overrated to build a fully automated very early game starter base. For me, it's simply about researching the most important technologies first. After that, everything here will be torn down anyway to build a larger and better starter base. There's physical projectile damage level 2. With it, we can conquer the large biter nests in the surrounding area, because the factory must grow. Destroying this annoying worm in the background is very important. At this damage level, I'm just going to sit back and relax for now, and let the gun turrets do all the work. Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, this got out of hand really fast. Let's take care of the next biter nest. This one, however, is a bit smaller. I haven't automated the transport of coal yet either. Now that the biter nests in the west are gone, production can be increased a bit without the risk of air pollution triggering attacks. However, the biter nest down here in the bottom left also needs to go. Phew, the evolution factor is still relatively low, but that will change soon. To be able to keep up with our enemies, we need new technologies. And for that we need a larger base and full automation. In addition, I'm already researching solar energy, as the boilers here cause massive air pollution. We now have enough space to build a proper smelting block. For this series I'm using another mod in addition to AVADII Rebalance to make the game harder. It's called Belt Speed Modifier with a factor of 0.8. In other words, all belts are 20% slower. Normally, such a smelting block has 24 steel furnaces to fill a yellow belt. But due to this nerf, I only leave space for 20. That's about 720 items per minute compared to 900 in vanilla. I also added the mod Belt Glow. Looks amazing at night. Okay, so let's tear down the old mini starter base and switch to the new smelting block. This right here will be the new green circuit sub-factory. 3 assemblers making copper wires, 2 for the circuits. And up here we make gears. Many players like to produce them on site, but I personally prefer a dedicated sub-factory. The end goal is to build a huge train base, not a main bus. But since we haven't unlocked trains yet and there's no space, building something similar to a main bus in the early game should be okay. The assemblers for the science production can stay right where they were, but all intermediate products we need are now being produced centrally up north. From now on, we also need a whole lot of steel. That's why I'm setting up a dedicated smelting block by copy-pasting. Going forward, I have to make sure to regularly use lamps so that you can see better. Because I utilize another purely visual mod, Light Overall. It makes nights darker and also changes the colors a bit. To keep up with the enemies and evolution factor, we urgently need the military science pack. Adding solar panels to relieve the boilers significantly reduces air pollution. In a death world, this is truly a significant step. Opening the map view reveals we are about to pollute the next nest. In fact, there already is a biter spawner consuming pollution. But where exactly? I suspect it's this nest over here. We have to scout regularly to find possible biter expansions. Unfortunately, we are not ready to fight that big nest in the east yet. We need military science first and my secret weapon. Those who have been following my channel for a while now know that instead of an early game mall, I prefer to simply collect intermediate products in chests. This way you can handcraft items very quickly. Let's now take care of the military science pack. We start with the production of walls. Next up, we need a sub-factory for grenades. These require a whole lot of iron and coal. For the production of red magazines, I use direct insertion. 1 assembler for regular magazines and 2 assemblers for the red ones. That should be enough. A belt full of copper and steel and we are good to go. For this science pack, production of stone bricks must also be increased. 2 steel furnaces are surely not enough. Now we can research with military science packs. I grabbed them with long inserters. The first technology is my secret weapon, Defender Capsules. And to make these little drones better, physical projectile damage level 3. This assembler here is supposed to craft up to 50 Defender Capsules. We can simply take them out of this chest and then start attacks on the biter nests. Let's try attacking. Unfortunately, I can only spawn 10 of these capsules at the same time. That doesn't look too bad, however, I only have 10 of them. And weapon shooting speed level 3 in the top right is also not finished yet. We have to be very careful, because we only have heavy armor and the evolution factor has already increased quite a bit. That's why there are medium worms and medium biters. To make defender capsules stronger and keep them relevant, we have to increase the research for damage, speed and follower robot count. By upgrading the assemblers from level 1 to level 2, we can easily increase research rate by 50%. The next major milestone is the production of the blue science pack. For this we need significantly more resources, especially copper. And most importantly, we need to extract crude oil from the ground. The closest oil field can be found in the northeast. Another very large spider nest is guarding it though. However, this time I can already spawn 20 defender capsules. Let's go. We now have significantly more damage, but with only heavy armor, these fights are very dangerous. Oh, there's another nest up there. Let's keep going. Phew, dodging all the worm attacks is hard. We certainly need better armor and an exoskeleton. But first, let's extract some oil. We just unlocked the tech tree for plastic, red circuits and mining productivity. Mining productivity is the first major rebalance mod nerf we encounter. Each level of mining productivity gives only plus 5% extra productivity, not plus 10%. I had to remove this nest because the pollution cloud was about to reach it. While researching trains, we are now preparing the production of the blue science pack. The first component in the recipe is engines. Since I want to fully focus on trains in this playthrough, I'm building the first track. To transport oil, fluid wagon research is also necessary. Naming stations properly is important. This one is named Oil Symbol Unload. And with that, we already have one more train than the 1 million signs per minute mega base. The track is not quite finished yet, and we also have to build a train station at the outpost. It hurts a little to remove all of these trees in a death world. There's the train station and also a pump to load the train. Even more important than blue science are modules, especially efficiency and productivity modules and better armor. I'm a bit concerned that attacks might come from the west. That's why I'm setting up a few gun turrets, just in case. To produce modules we need plastic, and to make plastic we need petroleum gas. Refineries will process and convert the crude oil. And this will be the subfactory for red circuits. 7 assemblers in total, one of them to make copper cables. Additionally, 2 chemical plants to make plastic. The production of efficiency modules is now possible. Under normal circumstances, efficiency modules are completely overpowered in death worlds. While we are at it, we can set up the production of sulfur, sulfuric acid and batteries. They will soon be very important for the production of accumulators. Let's continue by preparing the production of the blue science pack. 8 assemblers should be enough to start with. The recipe for chemical science has a large crafting time though. We already set up subfactories for all 3 ingredients of the chemical science pack. The engines up there still need their own belt on the main bus. Let's take a closer look at the next rebalance nerfs. Electric mining drills now only have 2 module slots instead of 3. At level 1, efficiency modules now only provide minus 20% instead of minus 30%. Previously it was possible to reduce pollution from 10 to 2. Now it is 6 or minus 40% instead of the maximum minus 80%. We've already researched power armor. Let's move on with electric engines and then bots. Especially the personal roboport will make our life significantly easier. Oil has become a bottleneck, which is why we have to expand the outpost. Until now we only had 2 pump jacks. I love trains in Factorio. I can't wait to set up a proper train system later. The base starts to require more electricity, which means more solar panels will be necessary. And accumulators. We just unlocked advanced oil processing. Before there was just an empty field, but now the base before setting up the blue science pack and after. Factorio is such a brilliant game because there's always something to do. For example, it won't be long before this iron deposit up here runs out. That means we urgently need to make plans for an expansion. Which is why we are researching physical projectile damage level 5. The upper half of the base didn't change that much. To further reduce air pollution, we unlocked electric furnaces. In combination with efficiency modules, they are well suited for a death world. But because of the rebalance nerf, the efficiency modules only reduce energy consumption by 2 × 20 or 40% instead of 60 like in vanilla. Nevertheless, replacing the steel furnaces with electric ones is still a very good upgrade for the base. Due to the slower belt speed caused by the mod belt speed modifier, I'm building only 20 furnaces again, instead of 24. Iron ore smelting is now completely electric. Next, we will also upgrade the smelting of copper ore. To make your life easier in Factorio, consider making good use of the copy-paste feature. At this point, I spontaneously decided to grab an achievement. Specifically, the achievement Logistic Network Embargo. To fulfill it, we need to research a technology from one of the other planets before using requester chests. In other words, we can't build a logistic bot mall before we've been to volcanoes. With the Rebalance mod, further levels of mining productivity require the Golden Science pack. That's way more expensive than just purple. And as mentioned before, every level only adds 5% productivity. The air pollution graph clearly shows that replacing the steel furnaces with electric ones has made a huge difference, despite the efficiency module nerf. And I haven't even replaced all furnaces yet. You must understand, with this strategy, without defensive walls, reducing air pollution is a prerequisite to increase production. To produce more and faster, we need another green circuit sub-factory. The laser turrets that are currently being researched will be used to defend the base. It won't be a massive defense, but at least it can prevent biter expansions. A single assembler produces blue circuits to craft equipment. We already have power armor, which means enough space for an exoskeleton. Electric engines are made here. A single assembler will suffice because we are not making Golden Science packs yet. We will most likely go to volcanoes first before producing them. And there it is, the first exoskeleton for plus 30% movement speed. Next we will increase the chemical science production by adding 2 more assemblers. It's now becoming more evident by the minute. We need a new iron ore expansion. This patch will soon be depleted. Every now and then I check the pollution statistics. At the moment we are polluting a nest somewhere, but just a tiny bit. Okay, let's get started setting up an iron expansion. We start by building an iron ore unloading station. There's only space for 1 train, which is why I set the train limit to 1. The name of the station, iron ore symbol unload. Normally I like unloading into 4 chests per wagon, but in the early game 2 chests will suffice. The train should be able to go in both directions, meaning 2 locomotives, each facing a different direction, and 2 cargo wagons. The Rebalance mod contains mostly nerfs, but cargo wagons are actually buffed. They have 50 slots for transportation, compared to vanilla with 40. Additionally, I enabled quality for wagons, which means we can later craft even better wagons with more storage capacity. There's a small section of rails shared by both trains, which means we need rail signals. To load the train, I'll start with just 2 chests per wagon. It looks like we have a few biter nests in the immediate vicinity. We have to be careful and keep an eye on the pollution spreading south. New and fresh iron ore just arrived. Instead of connecting the belts to the existing smelting furnaces, I simply built a whole new block. Preferably in such a way that another block fits directly next to it. The iron ore expansion is secured with lasers, but as you can see on the minimap, the first wave of attacks is already gathering down there. We need to take care of this problem immediately. In the meantime, I have crafted poison capsules, which are extremely good for exterminating worms. Fights are still going relatively well, but the evolution factor will continue to rise. That's for sure. To use lasers efficiently, a stable energy source is required. Either we need to add a massive amount of solar panels and accumulators, or we build an early nuclear power plant. However, the uranium deposit is very far from the base. With a long train route, it shouldn't be a problem to transport the materials back and forth. A train with a single wagon will probably be enough for that. Mining uranium in Factorio is, however, a special case because you need sulfuric acid for it. I will transport it in barrels using a regular cargo wagon. Filling 20 to 40 barrels is most likely sufficient. Inside the cargo wagon I use the filter function so that iron, full and empty barrels have their own place. Uh-oh, we are being attacked. Fortunately, that was just a small attack wave. There must be a nest somewhere. In fact, we pollute nests with over 20 per minute. That is the big danger in a death world. Biters expand very frequently. And if a new spawner sits directly in the pollution cloud, massive attacks can develop. With a light overall mod, Factorio looks really beautiful at night. Since I also want to build the nuclear power plant down here, connecting the main base to this outpost with large power poles is absolutely necessary. Sulfuric acid barrels are then emptied in this assembler. I already built mining drills and 2 centrifuges. What is still missing is the power plant itself. We start with water and then build 4 heat exchangers. These can convert a total of 40 megawatts of heat. Exactly right for 1 reactor. 2 turbines per heat exchanger are more than enough. Just a few more heat pipes and of course we have to build a belt for the fuel cells. And whether you believe it or not, the first piece of U-235 was created extremely quickly. Which means we have 10 fuel cells right away. As soon as the reactor reaches 500 degrees, we have enough power to defend the base with our lasers. Next, I would like to install circuit logic. We actually already have an overproduction, but then fuel cells will only be used when they are really needed. We read the temperature and content of the reactor. If there's no fuel cell present and the temperature drops below 600, the inserter is active. We now generate up to 70 megawatts, 40 of which are through nuclear fission. In addition to the achievement Logistic Embargo, I also want to complete Rush to Space. The combination is a good fit. For Rush to Space, planetary technology must first be researched before producing purple or golden science packs. We don't have enough resources for these expensive science packs anyway. To launch rockets, we need a large amount of blue circuits and rocket fuel. I don't know yet if I will regret it, but with AVADII Rebalance, you need 100 rocket parts instead of 50. Every rocket launch is therefore twice as expensive. I'm curious to see how this will affect things, especially in a death world with a low production rate. Of course, we also need to produce low density structures. Again, 100 for each launch. There's the first rocket silo, each craft only giving 1%. Uh-oh. At this production rate, it could take quite a while. The base only has 5 crude oil sources. Anyway, let's start producing space foundations. We definitely need a static space station to produce space science. The first launch with a space platform starter pack on board. We didn't manage to get There Is No Spoon, but at least no time for chit-chat. To produce all of these space foundations, steel production must be doubled. Additionally, I'm already placing the cargo landing pad where the space science packs will arrive later. I would like to produce faster, but without a solid defense wall, everything depends on pollution. Despite all the efficiency, we are always on the verge of polluting large nests. Let's start preparing a perimeter with lasers. I would like to use this narrow choke point, which is why the nests have to be removed. Utilizing choke points is beneficial to reduce the number of defensive structures. Slowly but surely, I notice that without further damage upgrades, the defender capsules are becoming weak. A single layer of walls and then substations with maximum distance will be sufficient. 2 lasers per substation. I won't show every fight, but one thing is clear. With the increasing evolution factor, each individual fight becomes more and more difficult. To increase damage, we would need golden science packs. That's not possible because of the achievement, but more importantly, we have too little oil and thus too little plastic. Meanwhile, the initial iron ore deposit has been completely exhausted. Time to build a small space science platform. I'm using the main hub to distribute all items. No cargo base needed. Since the platform is so small, I was able to build it relatively quickly despite the hassle of the 100 rocket parts. Just a few solar panels are still missing. Asteroids that are not needed are simply thrown overboard down here. We use the first space science packs to research Kovarek's enrichment. Enrichment is not particularly important at the moment. Much more important is securing the base and building a transport ship to get to Volcanus. The Rebalance mod buffs the personal laser slightly. To be honest, it's still trash. This will be the southern perimeter. Our next huge problem is a huge spider nest right next to the uranium patch. It's a really tough fight. Despite laser turrets and poison capsules, it's still very dangerous. Especially because of the big biters and big worms. Phew, done. Let's continue with the construction of a diagonal wall. As soon as we reach the first planet, bots must be able to repair lasers, walls and substations. To enable them, we have to build a roboport network covering the entire base. Of course, the nuclear reactor in the southeast also needs to be secured. Since the initial copper deposit will soon be depleted, a copper expansion is necessary. I simply copy the station from the iron outpost. This way I only have to change the symbol. Next we also need a copper unloading station. Again I'm copy-pasting the station and chests. We've built 4 trains so far. Later on there will be many more. The copper patch is conveniently located right in the middle of a forest. The pollution from the mining drills will be directly absorbed. At the moment no research is being conducted. On the one hand there's nothing meaningful left to research with the currently available science packs. On the other hand I need all resources to build the first transport spaceship. The copper ore belt from the new expansion still needs to be connected. It's actually insane how many resources are needed to produce the foundations and the rocket parts. And here it is, the first transport spaceship, specifically designed for this run. With all the nerfs from the Rebalance mod, it would have been significantly smarter to build a small spaceship. For example, Boxcar, a small ship I've already made a video about. But to properly assess the mod, it makes more sense to design an average-sized ship. I quickly made the decision to tear down the lower section of the spaceship. This way, the upper part will be finished faster and we can start collecting asteroids. The trains are already running on rocket fuel, but I still have to manually put them into the chests. Because of the achievement, I can't build requester chests yet. The complete construction of the ship took about 6 in-game hours. Of course, there are several reasons for that. On the one hand, the mod makes rocket launches twice as expensive. And then there's Deathworld. In a default map, it would certainly be possible to produce 2, 3 or maybe 4 times as much. Fundamentally, it comes down to the strategy I chose. Instead of relying on nerfed efficiency modules and not building defensive structures, it would have been much better to simply produce more, pollute more and then build a large and stable perimeter with flamethrowers. Flamethrowers are extremely overpowered and perfectly suited for Deathworlds. I would say that I have very successfully destroyed my own playstyle with the Rebalance mod. The transport spaceship is now slowly taking shape, while the initial copper patch is almost gone. To increase copper throughput, I upgrade to red fast transport belts. The space science platform is still very small, therefore it makes sense to accumulate a lot of packs, in this case 8000. I've already made a video about constructing this spaceship, you can find it in the top right corner. And there it is, after approximately 23 hours of in-game time. The spaceship is almost complete. In the upper area there's circuit logic. With decider combinators I control the amount of asteroids for each type on the belt. Only efficiency modules are still missing. But you remember I nerfed them. Therefore I'm utilizing also level 2 modules. They reduce power consumption by minus 35%, vanilla minus 40%, a very small nerf. We almost reach the minus 80% cap. To help setting up the Volcanus base, I'm launching a cargo landing pad, steel substations and 20 bots. The perimeter around the base has been finished, plus a roboport network to enable repairs. We are ready to travel to Volcanus. Our goal is to complete the 2 achievements, logistics embargo and rush to space. And then return with a stack of big mining drills. Mining productivity is now very expensive and only grants half the bonus. Big mining drills and foundries will make the Norvis base significantly better. These are the items I'm taking with me to Volcanoes. However, as you might have already guessed, the nerfs shown so far are just the beginning. Foundries have less productivity, big mining drills a higher resource drain. To process lava, 5 times more calcite is required. Molten metal on Norvis, twice as much calcite. And similar to mining productivity, the low density structure productivity research now only gives plus 5% per level. Purple and golden science packs can no longer be produced on Volcanoes. This will be a lot of fun. If you like, support me on Patreon. Rare supporters can also download all save games. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. See you in the next. Thanks for watching.